So yeah, we continue with the studies, or we start looking at financial management. So financial management in its own scope is actually concerned about the three key decisions. Okay, there are basically three key classes of the decisions that you make, and these decisions are made by the financial manager. What you have to understand is that the companies, the corporations, specific to be specific, the corporations, they usually hire external people to run them. And one of the people that they hire is what is called the director of finance, or the financial manager of a corporation. So the manager, or the financial manager of a giant corporation, is entitled to making the three sets of the decisions. And these decisions involve, number one, investment decisions. Okay, investment decisions. And the manager, the financial manager, director of finance, always make the decisions, which are known as the dividend decision, right? The dividend decisions. You make the dividend decisions, and you also make the financing decision. The financing decision. These are the three classes of decisions that you get to make day in and day out as a financial manager. So what about financing decisions? Under financing decisions, these are the decisions that you get to make that answer the question, where do we find the finances that we are going to fund all our projects? Where do we find the finances, or the money, the funds that we are going to use so that we can run these investment projects? Okay, so you are always interested in finding out what the source of finance will be. So sometimes you can you are also involved in deciding the capital structure of the company. That is to say, you decide if you should have more debt in your capital, or you should have more equity in your capital. So all those are some of the decisions that you're going to be making. So you'll be trained as a financial manager on how to make those decisions. So the topics that you're going to look at, some of the topics that we'll look at, will help you as a financial manager to decide which source of which source of finance should you choose. Where do you get the money? You don't just wake up and say, no, we're going to use such a source of finance. We're going to use such. There should be some guiding principles. So those guiding principles will be explained under the financing decision. Is that clear?
Yes.
Then you also make the dividend decisions. Now, with the dividend decision, to start with, what is a dividend? Let me just start from there. What comes in your mind when you hear a dividend?
Oh, that one now. I'm not sure exactly.
Okay, you can mention anything that you know, even if you're not sure. Of course, you don't have to be sure.
Oh.
All right.
This one. All right.
Okay, so what usually happens is that when you buy shares from any of the PLCs, the public limited companies, for example, in Zambia, you can have companies such as ShopRite, Zanaco, Standard Chartered Bank, Investors, okay, KCM, Copperbelt Energy Corporation, CEC, you have Chilanga Cement, among others. There are so many corporations where an individual can go and become a shareholder, okay? We call those the publicly limited companies. So now, when you buy shares in those companies, what usually happens is that at the end of the period, the people in the finance department, decide, they look at they prepare the financial statements, they check if they have made the profit or loss. If they have made the profit, they get to decide, and as they decide, they say, okay, this money that you have made, this profit, what are we going to do with it? Okay. As a financial manager, you're one of them. What are we going to do with the profit that we have? Some of the profit you're going to say, okay, we should plow back in the business, meaning investing back the same some money in the business, right? To continue running the investment project. Then some amount you're going to say, no, some amount we have to invest. We have to give the owners of the shares, the owners of capital, the people who bought shares. So they should share amongst themselves. Usually the shareholders share according to the number of shares that they have. So for example, you can say maybe when they are sharing those shares, that profit, because people hold different number of shares in each firm, okay? People hold different number of shares in each firm. Find that someone maybe might have 1 million, someone just has 500 shares, someone just has 200 shares, somebody has 15 million shares. So how do they share, okay, that profit? So they share according to the number of what? To the number of shares that you have. They can say, okay, we're going to share this profit. Let's say you'll be sharing 20 kwacha per share. Okay, let's put it at the price of 20 kwacha per share, which means that if you have got 1,000 shares in a firm, you just multiply 20 times 1,000. Okay, 20 times 1,000, that should give you 20,000, isn't it? That is the money that you receive. Now, that money that you receive is called the dividend. Okay, it is called the dividend. So when we say the manager, the financial manager makes the dividend decision, these are decisions that you make to decide how much should we give to the what? To the shareholders. Okay, how much should we share? How much should we retain in the business so that the business continues running? How much should we invest back? To invest back into the same business called plowing back. How much should we plow back? Okay. All those questions, you'll be trained on how to answer them technically. We will train you on how to answer those questions. And that simply means that we'll do some topics within this course that will help you to make a decision. How do you decide how much you should do? Share as the dividends, or how much should remain or should be plowed back. Is that clear?
Yes.
Some of the decisions that you make are called the investment decisions. Now, with these decisions, every day, day in and day out, as a financial manager, will be faced with these scenarios or these situations where you need to decide on the investment project. So what usually happens is that you have got a lot of investment projects that you get to be exposed to as a business. Okay, so you decide, you have to be trained on how to choose those investment projects that you have, those investment options. You don't just wake up and say, oh, I'll choose this one, I'll invest money in this. The question is, under investment decision, where do we invest our money? Okay, so that we can create more value to the money of our shareholders. Where do we invest the money? Okay, given many options, which option should we choose? So you will have some topics that will train you or to understand, okay, or they will help you on how we make such decisions. We don't just make them, you have to be guided and trained on the guiding principles that should be there guiding you, especially on how to make such a decision. Is that clear?
Yes.
Those are investment decisions. So to repeat again, we're just going to train you on how to make investment decisions, how to invest. You learn that, and how do you choose which project to invest in your money. And you also learn the dividend decisions. That is how to decide how much money out of the profit that you have made should be issued out as dividends, or how much should remain in the business as a retained earnings. Okay. Then from there, you will also look at the financing decision. That is That will help you to answer the questions on where do we find the source of money so that we can invest or so that we can fund the projects that we have. We are running some projects as a business or as a company. Where do we find the money? On sources of finance or business finance, we are going to train you, we show you the sources and how do you decide, okay? Those are some of the things that you're going to be looking at in a nutshell, in financial management. You will learn the roles of a manager who is actually a financial manager, director of finance. What do they actually do? Okay, what are some of your roles? What are some of your limits? So basically, our conversation will be revolving around the financial manager. Okay, who is a financial manager? How do they make this decision? Why should they decide like that? What should be the guiding principle in each of the decisions that they make? Is that clear?
Yes.
So basically, that is what financial management is in a nutshell. I think I'm done teaching. So from there, you can even manage to read the course on your own, isn't it? Now that you know the picture.
Much better now.
Much better. You at least you have an idea of what financial management is all about. That's generally,
Yes,
that's the scope of financial management. Let's now zero in and look at this first unit or the first chapter.
all right.
So financial management is concerned, has got the concern, okay? It is concerned with the management of all matters associated with number one, cash flow of an organization, short-term and long-term, how the company uses the funds. Is it by buying non-current assets, the fixed assets, how they fund their working capital, how they source the finances, okay? How they source the finances, just like that. Those are some of the questions that you get to answer. So the meaning of financial management is planning, organizing, directing, and controlling the financial activities, and also applying the general management principles to financial resources of the enterprise. That is what financial management is by definition. So it refers to planning, organizing, directing, controlling the financial activities, and also applying general management principles to financial resources of the enterprise. Okay. The scope of financial management, I said already, is about investment decisions, financing decisions, dividend decisions, just like that. Now, what are some of the main objectives of financial management? Okay. Financial management has got the following objectives. Number one, to ensure regular and adequate supply of funds. It's our objective as financial managers to ensure regular and adequate supply of funds. We have to ensure adequate returns to the shareholders. Okay, this actually usually depends upon the earning capacity, the market price of a share, and expectations of the shareholders. Remember, I said when you buy shares in a company, you buy those shares so that you can have something in return, right? You don't just buy the shares without any expectation. You expect something in return, which is usually the return, okay, from those investments. So what usually happens is that since you are not involved in the running of the business, mostly when you buy ordinary shares, you just leave your money. It's not your duty to think about how the money should multiply or do what. But there are some people that you hire. Among them is the financial manager, okay, that are going to be deciding on how to create value to you shareholders, to impress you so that you're happy with the money that you invested, okay? So it is the duty, or it is one of the objectives of financial managers. It is also their duty to ensure optimum fund utilization, to ensure safety on an investment, and to plan sound capital structure. When I say planning the capital structure, you are asking yourself, how much debt should we have as part of capital, and how much equity should we have as part of capital, okay? That is how you decide. Those are some of the things that you ask yourself, and you get to find the answers. What are some of the functions of financial management? It is to estimate capital requirement, okay? But usually this depends upon the expected cost and profit and future programs and the policies of an organization, okay? So estimation of capital requirement depends on the expected cost, the profit, future programs, and the policies of an organization. It is the function of financial management to determine, okay, the capital composition. Should we have short-term? Should we have long-term equity analysis? You do all those things. You have to choose. It's a function of financial management to help you on how to make a choice of the source of finance. Should we get the funds from shares by issuing shares? Should we issue debentures? Should we issue loans from banks? Should we get loans from the bank? Should we get public deposits? You get to decide. One of the function again is the investment of funds. It is the function of financial management to ensure that the decisions that pertains to the investment of funds has been made, okay? Another function is to ensure that the disposal of the surplus in terms of the money, the profit that is made is actually, the disposal has been done correctly. So you have to decide on how the money that you make as a profit will be distributed as a financial manager. That is to say, should you declare dividends or should you retain profit? How much dividends should you declare? How much profit should you plow back into the business? The declaration of dividends involves or includes identifying the rate of dividends and the other benefits like the bonuses. Those are some of the things that you decide on, okay? But the retained profits will depend upon the expansion, innovation, and diversification plans of the company. How much we should retain as a profit, it should be heavily dependent on our expansion. How much do you want to expand? On the innovation, on the diversification plans that we have as a business, okay? It is the duty or the function of financial management to make sure that cash is managed, okay? Cash is required for many purposes, such as meeting current liabilities, okay? For example, paying our wages, salaries, paying electricity, those are expenses, water bills, payment to creditors, maintenance of enough stock, and purchase of raw materials, among others. So basically, those are some of the things that you have to make sure that you meet on daily basis. And you need cash for you to meet those obligations. And so cash management is actually a function of financial management. You have to make sure that the finances are controlled, and therefore financial control is one of the functions of financial management. So apart from just planning, procuring, and utilizing the funds, okay, control should be exercised over finances. It can actually be done through many techniques, such as ratio analysis, financial forecasting, cost and profit control. I'll show you there is a topic within this that is called ratio analysis. Okay, take chapter number 9. So I'll teach you on how to analyze the ratios. Okay, you will be interested in knowing how to analyze the ratios. Okay. So now, what financial planning refers to? Let's look at the definition, objective, and importance of financial planning. So financial planning is actually the process of estimating the capital required and determining its structure. That is financial planning. It involves actually framing financial policies in relation to procurement, investment, and administration of funds of an enterprise. It involves forming financial policy and get also to help you appreciate financial utility. It is very, very important to plan the finances So let's look at the importance of financial planning. It ensures adequate funds are available. This is not personal finance that I'm teaching you. I'm teaching you the financial management of the entire corporation, of a giant company. Okay, a corporation, a public limited company. So yeah, but you can try to tear it down to your personal levels, but really you have to understand that you are looking at the corporation as a financial manager. You have to ensure that reasonable balance between outflow and inflow funds is actually maintained. So you have to do that, and you have to ensure that the suppliers of funds find it easy to invest in companies that exercise financial planning. So usually the suppliers, they find confidence, in investing in some of the companies that exercise financial planning. So you have to plan the finances as a financial manager. You will have to make sure that you plan the finances, because it will help you in making growth and expansion programs, which will help you in long run to survive as a company. You should be able to plan your finances because it reduces uncertainties, especially with regard to changing market trends, okay, which can be faced easily through enough funds. So there are a lot of some changes that will happen, okay, in the market. So when you have planned your finances, it can help you to meet those emergencies, among others. Let's look at the capital asset investment. Now, what about capital asset investment? A decision to invest in capital assets should be considered, okay, against the following. You should consider, actually, you have to consider a decision to invest in capital assets, okay, against the following: the return. Before you invest, you have to look at the return. How much are you going to receive as a return? You have to look at risk. I'll teach you how to analyze risk and how to see risk and how to reduce risk. So look at some of the topics that will be devoted to such studies. You have to look at your decisions, especially that pertain to short-term profitability and the liquidity of a company. All those should be actually the guiding principles, okay, on your question on should I invest in capital assets. What about return now? What about return? So the return of an investment is the profit that is derived from the acquired asset. Okay, the return of an investment is actually the profit that is derived from the acquired asset. And this may be financial accounting, profit, or net present value. All right, those are some of the things. So that profit that you derive from the acquired asset. And the risk is actually the probability that an event will occur, okay, A quantifiable assessment of what might occur, that is risk. So we are not really sure that where we have invested our money, we are going to receive something in return. Okay, there is the probability that we might not receive. So that probability, okay, that doubt, that uncertainty is what is called the risk. The short-term profitability actually implies to the fact that an investment is actually important, because if it is too little profit is made during the early stages of the project, the organization may struggle to keep financing the project, especially in the longer term. So you have to look at the short-term profitability and long-term profitability of a company. Liquidity, this stresses the point that you need cash in the business. Liquidity is about how much cash, how much of the most liquid assets you have, those assets that you can easily convert into cash and help you to meet the obligations. Okay. What is working capital now? So working capital, I would say, is actually the cash resource that is available to the business on a day-to-day basis. there is some cash resource that is available that helps in the running of the business on daily basis. That is called the working capital. All right. That is what the working capital is all about. Now, without the working capital, the business would run out of cash and become insolvent. So it will be unable to meet the short-term liabilities. We will be unable to meet, for example, to pay the creditors, to pay salaries to workers, to do all those things. Okay. So those are some of the things that you actually get to consider as a financial manager to start with. There are basically 4 factors that you have to consider when looking for business financing. Number 1, the total funding required, how much money you are requiring. You have to look at also the fact that should this money be internally or externally generated? Should we get this money from outside, from the public, or we have to get it from within the organization? Should we issue out a debt or should we issue out equity? To issue out equity simply means issue out shares, ordinary shares. Or we can get a loan. Okay, should we get a loan? Should we get debentures? Should we issue debentures? Should we issue the corporate bonds? Those are some of the things that you're going to be deciding. We'll talk about these things, especially in detail. Should the capital be long-term or short-term? So that is how actually you get to, those are some of the factors that you look at. Okay. Okay. Now, the shareholders, they have got some impact on the corporate objectives. Okay. The stakeholders, sorry, not the shareholder, the stakeholders. So to start with, a stakeholder is just any person or anyone, any party that is interested in the running of a company. That is a stakeholder, not a shareholder, a stakeholder. A stakeholder is any party that is interested in the running of the company, okay, that is directly or indirectly influenced by the operation of the business. That is a stakeholder. So now, most of the stakeholders that the companies or the corporation have are listed as follows. Number 1, you have the shareholders. Those are stakeholders as well. They are interested and affected by the operations of the business. The employees and unions, the revenue and customs, the local councils, the local people. You have the government, the customers, okay? And those people whom you owe as a business. All those people are interested in the running of the business and are affected either positively or adversely. Now, you will understand that these stakeholders, they have got sometimes the conflicting, I would say their interests sometimes conflict with each other. Let's start with the employees and the unions. They usually demand more pay, okay? The employees usually demand more pay. They want to work a short time, okay? They just want to work short time, but they demand more pay. And this actually affects the levels of profitability expected by shareholders. If employees do not even work, they want more holidays, they just want to report, they report late at work, they want to knock off early. So you understand the profitability will be affected. The neighbors may complain about the level of pollution in the if the company actually produces, is producing. So you find that the company is producing, but the neighbors do what? Are complaining of pollution. It is also a conflict. Okay, that's a conflict. You find that the company is busy producing, but people are complaining. So you find that those interests are conflicting. Also, the customers, they may demand extra services from employees, or they may complain that the price of products are too high, just like that. Now, as you try to put down the prices of the goods, you take them down, then you find that you might end up start making losses. So you find that your interest, the interest of customers and the interest of producers are not actually aligned. The debt holders usually they want returns regardless of the business profitability. That's their interest. The people whom you owe as a business, they want you to give them their money, whether you are making profit or not. But you find that you as a company, you would want not to give them because you're not making a profit this time around. You don't make profits. So you're like, no, we are not going, or we have not made a lot of profit margin. So we will not give them. But there are those conflicts around. The shareholders, they may demand large dividends, which can weaken the company's asset base. So you find that the shareholders, they want a lot of what? A lot of dividends. But again, at the same time, if that is done, it will weaken the asset base of the what? Of the company. You find that as well. Okay. So again, you will understand that as a financial manager, you don't just have to be there issuing out, many dividends because you're interested in issuing out many dividends. No, you don't do that. Is that clear?
Yes, sir.
Yes. So you have to decide and you have to check, because again, you want to impress the shareholders. You're just issuing out dividends, then the company will stop growing, because if you issue out all the profit, you give it to the shareholders, then you have nothing to invest as you plow back in the business. There'll be nothing to plow back, and you're weakening the base of assets for the business actually. Is that clear?
Yes, sir.
So now, the main goal that we always have is called the goal congruence achievement. Is always our goal as a financial managers. We want the goal congruence achievement. What is goal congruence? Goal congruence is defined as the state which leads to individuals or groups to take actions which are in their interest and also in the best interest of the company. Did you get it? Goal congruence is the state which leads to individuals or groups to take actions which are in their self-interest and also in the best interest of the company. That is goal congruence, whereby you are interested in what you want, but you also what you want is actually, it does not affect what the interest of the company. That is goal congruence. So for us to achieve goal congruence, there should be introduction of carefully designed remuneration packages for managers and the workforce to motivate them to take decisions consistent with the objectives of the shareholders. You have to make sure that you are motivating people by the way how you are paying them, so that they don't start acting they don't start heading another direction. Okay, because you might find that if you don't pay them enough, they will be forced, for example, maybe to start stealing for you, start stealing for the company, all those things. And goal congruence will not be met. Okay, the share options as part of a manager's remuneration package incentivizes the managers to try and maximize the share price, as this will maximize the capital gain they will achieve. So what happens when you motivate the managers very well, they will be forced to work and do their best, right, to the business. They'll give all they can in terms of their skills, and that will actually help in revamping and growing the company. It will make the shares of a company have their prices go up. Okay, the share price of a company usually goes up because of what? Because the value of the company has actually increased. So you find that the companies always target that they increase the value of the company so that the share prices can do what? Can increase, and the capital gain is actually gained. Is that clear?
Yes.